The Agile Coach Service presents the many flavors of Agile. Our objective for this video is to kind of discuss many of the frameworks and approaches to Agile, hopefully clear up some confusion on some of the terminology in Agile, Scrum, Scrumban, Kanban. We have an introduction. We have follow-up videos where we dive into each with significant more details. But one of the questions we want to answer today is, for what type of project you might be working on, which Agile approach would suit you best? And so that's one of our key objectives for this video. So while there are multiple flavors of Agile out there, we don't want to overwhelm. So the purpose of this video, we're going to focus on the following. We're talking about Scrum, which is the one most people refer to with the 2-week sprints, etc. We've got Kanban, which you'll hear us stress over and over again, we feel is the best place to start with Agile, especially transitioning from waterfall project management methodology, and then Scrumban, which is the hybrid approach, utilizing features from Scrum, using features from Kanban, maybe for teams that are new to Agile, like I just said about Kanban. So we will not only talk about the features of each of these, but we will make recommendations based on project type to help you determine what you should start with. The first flavor of Agile we would like to discuss is Scrum. And Scrum is the framework, the version of Agile that most people think of when they think of Agile. In fact, many people use the terms interchangeably, and that's not at all correct. So basically, Scrum is defined as featuring a series of multiple sprints. And within those sprints, that's a fixed amount of time during which work is completed. And you have the overall Scrum cycle is one in which you have sprint planning, you do the work in the sprint, you have daily stand-ups, then you do a sprint review and a sprint retrospective. And the structure really helps to target a specific amount of work, more commonly aligned with software development, web development, new functionality to be delivered, as opposed to projects such as infrastructure or ERP. One thing we've encountered on many projects is the rush to Scrum without evaluating if it was appropriate for the project. Say a manager read about it and thought it was a cool thing to do, but let us tell you when to use Scrum, when it's the most appropriate, when you're going to see the most success. Software development, something you're constantly pushing to production. It could be actually software, it could be web development, whatever. Something you need to complete in bits and can constantly be pushed out. And then if you have a user base that's constantly changing priorities, yesterday's priority 1 is tomorrow's priority 5, you want Scrum to be able to shift within the sprint and change it up. And thirdly, we didn't note it before, you're going to have a team that's solidly performing, and you're going to have defined the key roles, specifically that of Scrum Master and Product Owner. Question is, does your team have people that can fill those roles? If so, then Scrum is the way to go. So if you meet those criteria, and really if you have a team defined and ready to roll, maybe they've been working together for a long time, we highly recommend Scrum as your selection. Now let's talk about Agile Flavor 2, Kanban. Kanban means billboard or signboard in Japanese and originated in Japanese companies as a way to eliminate waste and limit work in progress. It's one of the key 6 principles of Kanban is to limit work in progress, and we'll discuss the full 6 list here in a second. But if you see, it's a similar board to Scrum projects, but the big difference is there are no sprints. That is, this board is ongoing. It's a full view of the work to do, but the key goal here is to limit the work in progress so that it's manageable and so that you focus and finish an amount of work at a time and keep the project moving, and still gives you the agility to change priorities and change work efforts. And now let's take a look at a Kanban board using our preferred Agile tool of Jira. And as you can see, it's laid out very similarly to a traditional Scrum project, right? Obviously you can configure these columns any way that you want. The more traditional way to do that for Kanban would be as we have it structured here. You have a backlog selected for development, an in progress, and then a done column. And again, you've heard us say it before. We'll repeat it again. One of the primary tenets of Kanban is to limit work in progress, and that's as we're doing here. We're moving items from the backlog, have a few already selected for development. We need to balance them across our 3 teams, so we're going to build out the in progress column with the appropriate amount of work to make sure that we're not overloading the teams and not getting distracted trying to do too many things at once. And in this ADD-driven society, it seems like we're always doing that. And that's where something like Kanban or Scrum can definitely help. Limit the amount of work so you focus, finish, and then you can move on. One final note on Kanban, we like the fact that you can change priorities almost on a daily basis, whereas with Scrum, you want to keep it confined within a sprint. And once a sprint is set, not to change it. So with that, let's talk about the 6 principles of Kanban. And one you've probably heard this before, limit work in progress. Again, a finite amount of work. Visualize workflow. That's what you use, either a board, you can use a storyboard, whiteboard, or you can actually use tools such as Jira, Rally, version 1, etc., which is what we prefer to do, especially in this current age, right? And then manage the flow. You want to manage the flow, preferably moving forward. You don't want to constantly change priorities and shift around, but you have the ability to do that. And then make your policies explicit. How are these boards going to be managed? What's expected? Implement feedback loops. We got to get feedback from the business, the team, determine this is discussed, and then improve collaboratively. You want to work with the entire team to make sure that you constantly improve, move forward, and change the way that you're working in a positive manner. Okay, moving to flavor 3, Scrumban, which is a combination of Scrum and Kanban, kind of implied in the name. And this is a recommended starter framework for software teams to get used to Scrum, get used to the way that it works. And really, if you look at Scrumban, it's very simply just a combination. It's a little bit of Scrum and it's a little bit of Kanban. And then, that could be done differently from team to team. But what we like to see, what we suggest when teams do this, and again, we feel it's a great way to start, is to use the Kanban board and do everything you would with Scrum except the sprints. So do the board like you could do that in Scrum and Kanban, but do the ceremonies as well. You don't do the daily Scrum, do the sprint review, do the sprint retrospective. It won't be in the context of sprints, but it gives the team take advantage of the opportunity to do lessons learned and also any demos that might be appropriate. We feel like this is the agile approach to starting agile. Have a team start off doing Kanban, move to Scrumban where you're doing the ceremonies, and get everybody comfortable with the concept of sprints and see if that's appropriate to then move to Scrum. If not, stay in Scrumban. And now let's talk about some very specific project types to determine which flavor of agile might be best for your project. So when to use Scrum? Scrum obviously is the most known type of Agile, but we recommend that in 2 circumstances. Software development projects, so we're talking about an app, website, in-house, legacy software, upgrades, something in which you need to release code on scheduled intervals. That's where you take advantage of the whole sprint setup. Secondly, you need to have established teams. You need to have team members that work well together and can slide easily into those roles of Scrum Master and Product Owner. So now let's discuss which project types work best with Kanban. When to use Kanban. We show a data center here to kind of indicate our opinion that you should use Kanban for any non-software projects such as hardware, server upgrades, anything storage related, cloud, so things that don't have to correspond to a 2-week sprint. Things you could be moving them all en masse, you could be moving them every day, little by little. You want to keep track of it. That's where you can use the Kanban board to keep things moving, still be agile, but not have to worry about all these Scrum ceremonies and all that, which really don't add any value when it's something of this nature. Similarly with SAP. SAP has strict release schedules. You can't necessarily push code out every 2 weeks, and it works better using Kanban or Scrumban than Scrum. So based on this, which flavor of Agile do you think works best for your company? Hopefully this has been insightful and helpful. Join us for our future videos as we discuss more details about Agile.
Thanks for watching our video. Please subscribe to our channel and join us next time.